Let's take you to Linmeyer in Johannesburg, where residents say they have had it as they are having to contend with prolonged power cuts, and they say the situation has become a matter of life and death for them.
It's been without electricity about 50 hours or so now, and the resident who has to be left with the oxygen has to be sent to hospital because she can't stay in the comfort of her home, which is also going throughout different parts of the suburb. Like yesterday, the area over, they hadn't had electricity for about 21 hours or so, and it's been really affecting these residents because it takes 3 days or so just to switch on a switch or just to come to the substations just to fix a fuse or whatnot.
Let's stay in Linmeyer and speak to Zola. Sholwana, who's in the area. Is there light at the end of the tunnel for those residents, Zola?
Thank you very much, Dudu. Well, we have someone that will respond to that question, the City Power spokesperson that's going to, respond to the cries of the residents of Linmeyer who've been saying they haven't had electricity for quite some time. Some say it's been over 52 hours, and now they're worried that, they've got family members that are that critically need electricity. Let me introduce Mr. Isaac Mangena, maybe, who is going to give us clarity on, what the residents of Linmeyer have been crying about. Sir, thank you very much for your time. Residents of Linmeyer have been saying they haven't had power for quite some time, and, the situation forced some of them to take, their family members to the hospital, especially those that, are in critically need of electricity.
Thanks for having us. Look, in terms of the power outages around Linmeyer and Ogden, I tried to check with the colleagues. They've got no records of any medium voltage or even high voltage outage that affects those areas. This morning we woke up at around 900 outage calls from the Reuven Service Delivery Center, which includes Ogden and Linmeyer, and we don't have a major outage around those areas. It's probably, from your description, is probably individualized calls from people that are basically not having electricity. And that's why we always plead to customers that if you don't have electricity, the best thing to do is to log a call so that we are able to pick it even on the system. It doesn't have to be Isaac Mangena, but any of my colleagues will be able to pick it, and they will run with it, and they'll make sure that colleagues do have electricity. Yes, we do have some of the backlogs across the city following the recent higher stages of load shedding, but also the inclement weather conditions that we had to deal with in the past few days, but also even the cold weather currently that is ongoing. The demand for electricity is very high, and often with this compounded by this load shedding, you find instances where we are basically losing a lot of equipment due to this. But even with those backlogs, we still plead with customers to ensure that they can basically log calls so that we can respond accordingly. But for those that do not basically are heavy medical conditions, the law and the regulations do say that we've got an obligation as City Power to provide electricity to the customers. But it also says there will be those instances when we are not able to, and those are probably right about now during load shedding, where sometimes people can be load shed for about 4 hours at one go and 10 hours the whole day, and that is where the problem is. But that law basically also says that the responsibility is on the customers to make sure that they make plans. As long as we tell them, we communicate to them that there won't be electricity, there is a planned maintenance that will take 8 hours. So we plead to those with medical conditions who need oxygen masks to ensure that their tanks are full, or at least go to the relatives, so that at least we can save lives while we are dealing with electricity outages.
Now, speaking about communication, residents mentioned that the only communication that they received from you as City Power was that you have let go about 110 subcontractors, and not information with regards to unplanned power cuts. Hence, they couldn't really plan prior, especially those who need, oxygen machines that need to be connected to electricity.
We do communicate, and in fact, what we have done as City Power since the beginning of the year is to beef up communications in all our service delivery centers, in the depots, where we've got a dedicated communications person who basically ensures that every outage that is happening in that area, we are able to pick it and we're able to communicate to the customers. Every morning at 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, we basically ensure that we communicate the state of the network in all our SDCs, and we basically even mention how we are going to tackle some of those outstanding outages that we basically have. So in terms of communication, I'm comfortable that we do communicate. We send most of this communication to the councillors, and the expectation is that the councillors will then pass those messages to their constituencies, which is the residents. So I'm not sure why they say that it has never been communicated. And like I say, if it's an individual household, chances are it's not communicated because of it was not reported. If it is reported, then we will be able to pick it and we'll be able to run with it. But also internally we do have escalation processes. So if an outage goes beyond the service level agreement that we have with the residents, then you can basically, that is 4 hours. So after 4 hours, you need to basically escalate it to the next level of our operations, so that we can be able to deal with that. So if it goes beyond 24 hours, then that's when we basically treat it as a crisis, and we ensure that we deal with that. So I plead with those communities to basically make sure that some of those that have locked calls and are not attended to, we can be able to address them as escalations, so that they can have electricity. And then to your next question about contractors, I want to clarify that the contracts, City Power currently, we have contractors working. They've been working since the beginning of the week. So there is no crisis in the city of Johannesburg. There is no challenges in terms of outages. Maybe, let me say, there's no challenges that we cannot deal with. During winter, even last year around this time, we had this similar kind of challenges because of the huge demand of electricity during this season. But also the higher stages of load shedding, as I mentioned, have really dealt as a serious blow, especially in terms of our infrastructure, the faults that we are getting, but also the fact that in our infrastructure, the wear and tear has really increased. As such, they fail a lot during load shedding. So we do have teams that are basically working towards ensuring that we deal with that. The contracts that came to an end, those 110 that you're talking about, those contracts ended almost 3 years ago. There was a court process. Some of them took us to court to say they still want to basically work with City Power, and then we allowed that court process to happen. But we did say to the court, can you allow us then, while the court process is going ahead, to continue using this on a 3 months renewal basis? And the court agreed. That is 3 years ago. So all these 3 years we've been basically renewing our deal with those contractors. So that deal came to an end now, and that's why we let them go. But currently we do have contractors. We've also increased internal capacity with new technicians basically brought on board. We've got about 300 technicians across the city of Johannesburg. So the contractors do not do the regular maintenance, but they do only those emergency instances where we need assistance.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. Now, he has mentioned that obviously he wasn't aware, or rather City Power wasn't aware of the whole outage in the area.